Welcome to the Executive Forum Speaker Series from Purdue University's Daniels School of Business. I'm your host, Dave Randich, and I'm a lecturer here at the Daniels School, teaching undergrads on the West Lafayette campus. Executive Forum brings students and industry leaders together. Our speakers inspire our students and the public with insights on trends in their industry and guidance for students as they develop their business leadership skills. Today, we welcome Wabash's Kristin Glazner. Come along with us as we build the future of business.
Kristin, welcome to the Daniels School.
Oh, thank you. It's a privilege to be here. It has been a great morning already. I've been so cared for by Veronica and Ellie. Thank you for being so good to me. And Ben, I think Ben may still be here. Thank you. This is an honor to be here. I'm delighted, and I hope that we get to know each other a little better during this time.
Well, we appreciate you having you here at the Executive Forum, particularly because you're representing a local company here from the Lafayette area, a large company, publicly traded, works all over the United States, I would imagine in all the states, continental. So you're a big company with a very high market share. Can you tell us a little bit about your business? What business are you in? How do you please your customers? Who are your customers?
Yeah, so it's a great question and a great invitation. So Wabash is a public company, and we are right down the road. We are headquartered in Lafayette, Indiana, and we've been around since 1985, which really isn't all that long. It really isn't. It really isn't, even though that it seems like it has been quite a journey. We are, and as what you feel in Lafayette, a manufacturer, but that's not the full story. We are in transportation and logistics, and we're really in about how goods move. We are a manufacturer of what I would say is drive-in, so big box, big rectangles on the road that are 53 foot long, also truck bodies, tank trailers, flatbeds. So you can hear that we're in the transportation business and industry and are a manufacturer, but that's not all we do. We also do parts and services, and really are working towards digital enablement. So how can we know more about what we're shipping and moving? Our purpose is we are going to change how the world reaches you. That's an audacious purpose, but that exists because this is an area of big change. That even though we are doing something that, again, is big and exists for a long time, how goods move changes all the time. And even in your short time, even at Purdue, I give this example. I think I ran into a robot as I was walking here this morning. How goods change is constant. How can we be a leader in that space, a visionary leader in that space, but with a core focus on the transportation logistics space?
And who are your customers? Who pays you for your products?
We have some customers that I would describe us primarily as B2B, so we are business to business, but those businesses and are big. It's going to be FedEx and Walmart, Target, companies that that Amazon, that move goods throughout the country. They are big customers. J.B. Hunt is one that's been a very big customer for a long time that may be less known to you, but is really a logistic company. And what they're doing is they're purchasing the tractor, and they're doing logistics of getting those goods moved around. We are not moving those goods. We are the trailer. We are not the mover of that specifically, but our customers are.
And these are big customers. And when we have a big customer, they're pretty demanding, right?
They are demanding.
What are the kind of challenges they give you that make Wabash become better?
Absolutely. I think we have big, sophisticated customers that are trying to meet the needs of you and of me. I mean, the customer rigor and focus that, let's say, Amazon has is on meeting your needs and my needs and delivering with great urgency. So our customers have a high expectation of quality, reliability, and innovation. They want our products to be constantly evolving and increasing in value. So it's a big push. It's a big demand.
Mm-hmm. And Kristin, as we talk about the changes in the industry and the advances your customers are looking for, what are some of the trends going on in your world that students might recognize from the news or just driving around the interstate?
Well, I'll frame that in two ways. There's some parts of it that is, I mentioned the robots, which reminded me of what is exciting in our space, is there is potential for tremendous innovation. I mean, at some point, I suspect in our lifetimes, there will be, autonomous trailers. And that is transformational and super exciting. At the same time, we are in currently, as many of you might suspect or know, in a freight recession. That probably you're like, what does that exactly mean? It means that it's hard in the transportation industry right now. There's some factors. It's complicated. It's not one thing. Some of those factors, again, is the political environment. Some of that is a hangover really from COVID. But we're in a difficult time. This is a cyclical industry. So that is it's not unusual for us to have a difficult time. The fact it is so long is unusual. It is unusual to be as long as this. So again, we have kind of two things impacting us: an opportunity for tremendous radical change, something like autonomous trailers, huge innovation, transformation that would change how you and I receive goods. That's a big pull in our industry. While at the same time, we have the same hard challenges of, the world is hard and you all are not buying enough stuff. And when you're not buying enough stuff, people buy less trailers. So that is why the freight recession is what it is. So buy more things. That is the lesson of this. I'm really kidding. No, tell your parents to buy more things. No, that's really kidding either. It's tricky. Our economy is very pulled, as you all know, by consumer spend. And when that consumer spend goes down, it is highly impactful to many, many companies, including Wabash down the road.
So fewer Amazon clicks means fewer UPS deliveries, which means fewer trucks being ordered, I suppose, right?
100%, Dave, 100%.
And I know from my own experience running cyclical businesses that when you're in the down cycle, which I assume we're kind of close to now,
We're in.
there's a lot of pressure from shareholders. Cut, get rid of people, don't invest. How do you balance the need of the shareholders with the knowledge, your own knowledge, that in a couple of years you're going to be busy again and you've got to have the capabilities in place?
Oh, that is a excellent question. And when we talked about, you had asked, your very first question was, how do you delight your customers? A customer that I think of is not just the person who buys the trailer. It's stakeholders, board members, investors. So I'm thinking about that investor and board members all the time. So you make a very good point. We have to take this moment and not just cut everything possible to get through this difficult time. And that may not seem intuitive, but we can't. We have to do very smart preservation of that solid foundation, because the longer this lasts, the faster the ramp up will be. And that is a hard swing. And when that happens, you're like, what does that exactly mean? It means we have to hire a lot of people. And you actually can't hire a lot of people that fast because they have to learn the job. So you have to hire a lot of people at a very smart, good rate. So you don't want to lower your base so much that hiring makes it very hard to be productive and efficient. And then there's also supply chains. We have to rebuild an inventory. So you don't want to make that an impossible effort. So it's a very thoughtful equation of how do you be very smart about spend. And also talent. You want folks who work with us today to have a good experience, have meaningful work to do, and be doing the right transformation efforts, which is a lot of that is process improvement. We are, again, a lean manufacturer. We're very focused on our business systems and process improvement. And then also be able to know how to accelerate out of this as efficiently as possible, because you want to maximize the opportunity of when the upturn happens. And again, we're a cyclical business. That is not a bad thing. It means one thing. It will come back. It's just maximizing, as your prior experience as CEO of Master Brand, maximizing that return as efficiently as possible, and also as people first as possible. You want to treat people well and onboard them well and have them be successful.
And Kristin, you said something that was so important. I'd just like the students to hear it again. Can you tell us a little bit about, all right, we've snapped back, UPS wants a whole bunch of trailers, you've hired the people, now what happens?
It's a lot of, again, it's probably an obvious statement. I grew up in a manufacturing family, so I'm used to, my dad worked as a maintenance supervisor at PepsiCo. So you can't just hire someone and they know how to build a trailer.
Yeah.
You have to hire them and you onboard them and you train them and they learn how to do that in the same way. You go to school and you learn how to do your job well. You have to, there's a ramp time, there's a learning curve. So you want to, again, onboard people very thoughtfully and also onboard systems. Everything has a change management journey. So again, if we get to the proper size of our current demand, we will not be the right size for when it all comes back. So how do we have that flexibility and agility to do it the right way? And we're very thoughtfully focused on it. We also, again, want to be really thoughtful of supporting our growth areas that are not nearly as cyclical. Again, parts and services, as many of you might know, is not as cyclical as core manufacturing. How do we help folks who have the capacity to focus on that as best as possible and innovate and think of great ideas? So how do you do this? Is a lot of doing very paradoxical things.
Yeah. Let's stick with the HR vein for a while. Can you tell us today, 2025, what kind of challenges, opportunities are you seeing with bringing in a workforce? And let's talk about both your managerial workforce and then your broader team over there. What are some of the things that you have to be thinking about with your team to get the right people on board, motivate them, develop them, retain them?
So I'll go back a little bit. I even joined Wabash long ago, and Gracelyn, you did a nice job of not being like, whoa, it's so long and she's so old. So I joined in 2010, and I was a lawyer and focused on that, and then made the pivot in 2017 to HR, which was a really terrifying thing. And from the standpoint of I had to lead some very, very smart people, and two of them are in this room, and they're exceptional. They know what they're doing, but I did not. I had to lead without being a technical expert, which was very tough. What made that possible, though, was to have a really clear vision, and that vision was very much rooted in a purpose, vision, mission, and leadership values and principles. So we had a North Star to get us where we wanted to go. And that is always the key. So in our current state, when you ask about how do we take care of our salaried and non-salaried workforce, in the same principle alignment, we take those leadership principles and values and we operationalize them so that people know what to expect, how well to be treated, how to follow process well. We operationalize how employees how they ramp at work, how they do their work, with a deep commitment to process and KPIs and knowing if that's being successful. So that journey, again, when I made that transition in 2017 and then coincided with values and leadership principles, we brought just clarity to one of those being like win together. What does that mean? Which means you onboard people well. You have a supervisor in the non-salaried workforce. You have a supervisor who is salaried, who knows the names of everyone who is a non-salaried person who works for them and knows what their training will be and how they're going to perform and gives them feedback. And that's an expectation. And both has clarity. The person who's joined as a non-salaried assembler has clarity of what is expected of them and when they should be successful, and that management person knows how best to be leading them. That clarity is how relationships work. So again, when you ask about both groups, we're trying to, being in corporate America is about getting people to work together and work together well. Having a clear vision, a clear North Star is key. Having processes that support that North Star is key. And that works regardless of what level you are in the organization.
That's really cool. And one of the things I tell all my students every semester is, hey, you're in the business school, pretty soon you're going to get out there, and maybe around age 25 you're going to be supervising a whole bunch of people that are about your parents' age. Maybe didn't get a chance to go to college. Maybe aren't that excited about a young person coming in and supervising them. Can you tell us a little bit, you started on this a bit, the respect that a young supervisor would show the workforce so that they can win respect of the workforce?
Absolutely. I think all relationships work well when you think about trust. You want to have, and trust is driven by predictability and clarity. So again, you want to have as someone earlier in their career, but maybe in a big leadership position, needs to know what is expected of them, what are the processes they're going to implement, how they're doing, and then communicate it clearly. Communication is a big piece of this. I think that there are also just very, very clear values. I think recognizing most of us in this room, again, you're here at this amazing, amazing school, you value growth. You value learning. Most people do. So going into an environment knowing that you've got someone who wants to grow and learn and do well, and having clarity of what that means will set up people well for success. I'm sure you will be in these great positions where you're leading people of diverse backgrounds, both age-wise and demographics. I think the key to good leadership and management is a lot of good communication, but most of it does sit with just clear values of, here's what I expect of you, which is again rooted in good values, and communicate that really clearly and as quickly as the issue arises. So again, if someone isn't meeting expectations, do the thing that you would want done for you. Tell someone really fast so that they can course correct and get better. People want to be treated well. I want to be treated well, so we have to do that.
So you said something fascinating to me about expectations. Let's go back on that. And this is something I learned when I was about 30 from somebody who was about 60. It seems like at least when I was young, I was afraid to come across as a boss, wanted to be. So you said as long as a supervisor shows respect by giving clear expectations, it will be received well. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I think we all feel that. I mean, I think what makes your classes go well is you have, I think they still have syllabuses. You have something that tells you what you're doing and when you have to do it and what good looks like. That's really what life is. Mm. What's the mission? What are the tools I need to be successful? And what does good look like if I am successful? And then we rinse and repeat that often. I did share with Dave last night, I do think the part that I've learned that's later in life that I'd like is that so much of that, it takes a lot of practice to do that well. Doing that the first time is hard. It just is. It's hard to be like, here's the mission, here's the tools, here I measure, and am I telling you fast enough? Probably not. It's hard. It takes a lot of practice to be good at anything. This is an area that takes practice too. Good communication takes a lot of practice. It's worth doing. It's worth trying it a lot and not be discouraged if maybe it didn't go well. But I think that expectation setting, I think knowing also how that audience likes to receive it. I have a wonderful colleague I work with that her only way she can really understand an expectation is if I write it down. Okay, I'm gonna meet her where she's at. I will write it down. I can't orally tell her. She won't remember. It's just not how she learns. Just not how she learns. I'm someone who learns through my ears. She does not. She's got to see it. She learns with her eyes. I think you have to meet people where they are. I think expectations that are communicated to be heard. I said this earlier this week, and I think it's, again, a true statement to my team. I think you have to, and I shared it again with you too this morning, which is that I think you have to listen with the same interest and wonder in which you would want to be heard. So you have to communicate and meet people where they are as effectively as possible with those expectations. Then I think you have to give people tools to be successful. Building a trailer without the right equipment is not going to work out. You have to give them the right tools. You have to then define what good looks like, either by KPIs or, again, in your case, maybe the results of a test. What does good look like? And then have the conversation of how do we do it better next time? You do it over and over again. I think that is good management. I think leadership is different in the sense of leadership becomes vision and inspiration and empowerment. But that's I think they're a very good foundation of management.
I just love this direction you're going. One of the other things we talk about in class is a great thing about manufacturing and logistics and even sales organizations is that when you're young, you get lots of chances to work with people, supervise, practice, make mistakes, learn.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I would shudder when I'd see high flyers that go up straight to corporate or up through consulting and they get a big job when they're 40, but haven't had that experience and they're having to learn it when they're on the big stage. Do you ever see this effect? Or
I think I am that effect. I was a lawyer who, just worked as an individual contributor, and at 40 was put in charge. I didn't start with a little HR job. I got the chief people officer job. So that is me. I'm an example of that completely. That is, and I will tell you, I went into it being very aware of that as a high opportunity for failure, because how do you build credibility? How do you know how are you going to be effective? You're not proven, you have no track record. I work for a public company. I have a board that supervised every move I made for the first 2 years. What I learned very powerfully is that if that is the mission, and there's times that made sense. For my organization, it did. I was at Wabash for a long time. When I got that role, I had a very strong people vision. I had a very deep working relationship with our CEO. So it was the right leap. I wasn't sure at the time, but it was the right leap. What I learned about that the better, well-worn practice of being developed is that practice is better. There's no doubt I had a little bit of luck, but I did learn very quickly, you have to hire really good talent. You can't do anything that's transformational without having the talent who can get you there. So people who know what they're doing. I hired people who had been there and done that. I hired people and then you listen to those people. So I listened to what I should do, and then I empowered and supported and moved obstacles so those big things could happen, which is what leadership is. I am rarely in a position to be a technical expert at this point in my career, which is good and bad. There's days I would like to feel productive, and being a technical expert definitely feels better. But most of the time, my job is to listen to very smart people, help them do very hard things by either resourcing or removing obstacles, and then figuring out the next big thing to do. What is the next big thing that I need to figure out the 20 things I have to move to make happen? It is a constant game of strategy and empowerment of talent. But you cannot be successful in this crazy role my company had an idea to do, which again was spectacular, but a high opportunity for failure. Without having exceptional, qualified, competent people to lead you, and I did. I had a team that supported me, that supports me today. I've been very fortunate to retain them, that made a big transformation. The other piece I would say that you made me think about, Dave, when you asked that, was that I think there are two things in life I think about a lot, and one I like a lot more. There is compliance and commitment. Compliance you want because you just want people to do what they're supposed to, but it's not that interesting. I did not want compliant people to work for me. I did not want people to work for me who just did what I said. I want people who are committed to the vision. I want people who are committed to it. Because when people are committed, they give you feedback. The most important thing you can do as a leader is have a team that generously gives you feedback so that you know what you need to do next. Because you don't know everything when you sit here. The only thing you know is based on what people tell you. So that commitment to a vision empowers people to give you feedback safely. Because when you go to your team and say, you need to tell me what we should do next, you want them committed to doing that and not just doing it because they're compliant.
So Kristin, you're an HR leader of a big company. You've got a great track record of success. You've got the foundation of legal. When we talk to young people now and they're getting ready to go out into the workforce, what do you want them to know so that they can be successful?
I think for advice, what I would say is for you to know your values. What is most important to you? And the reason I say that is why did I come to Wabash? Why did I leave a law firm to come to Wabash? It's a value alignment. It was an organization that had values similar to mine, in that it had a very pure of heart manufacturing background, innovation focused, and wanted to be people focused. Didn't quite figure it out, and again, my team beautifully made that happen, but definitely wanted to be that, had a vision of that. That was a values alignment, so that I knew I could work and thrive in that environment, and I've stayed for that reason. I think knowing wherever you work, how does this match with how you want to grow and learn? Is this an organization radically committed to the customer, and does that interest you? Is it an organization that is a learning organization that is focused on helping you learn and grow in different ways? I think it's figuring out how does that match. You knowing that will help you figure out how you can help where you're working and how that work environment can help you. I think that's the best thing to do in early career. And then I also would say, again, one of Wabash's values that really helps, and I cling to a lot, and we spoke to it in one of my earlier sessions today, I think being curious your whole life is a good way to live. I think curiosity helps people learn. I think it helps diffuse conflict. I think it provides a foundation of good relationships. And I think as you explore different opportunities and internships, which you should consider Wabash, we're fabulous, you should consider Wabash. I would love for you to do that. I think being curious and asking lots of questions is such a great tool, but it's also just a great way to live your life. Because when I'm in a meeting with someone and they see it differently, instead of being like, could you just do what I want? It's so much more effective to say, well, why do you think that? Tell me more. It's such a place of building a community together that I can't say enough. I think being curious is one of the best qualities you can have as someone early in career and continues throughout.
Kristin, what does being a lawyer mean in terms of helping you for a business career? What's the foundation of legal that helps you?
So I joke. I love being a lawyer. I do. I love being a lawyer. And again, if any of you want to go to law school, reach out. We'll talk. I love law school. What is great about being a lawyer is that it gives you a foundation, a skill set that is its own language, its own thing. It's something that's special, that allows you to access a system that provides really a foundation for corporate America and all of us as citizens to know how things should work out. It is a process fundamentally, and that is a great thing to me. It's a great thing in that you do this and you know the consequence. That's how it's supposed to work. World's a little weird right now. It's not always working that way, but it's supposed to work that way. Rule of law is important, and I really appreciate that. So, what does being a lawyer allow me to do? It is a toolkit for problem solving. And that is what it is most fundamentally for me as a lawyer, but that also makes me helpful as a leader, because I think every problem can be solved. So it gives me grit and tenacity and energy, but it also tells me, yeah, problems are solved. Like everything is solvable. I have the privilege of knowing a special toolkit to solve problems that is that of a lawyer, but it really is true that process, collaboration, all of that can happen in other spaces outside of the legal one. That is fundamental problem solving, and so much of your career will be problem solving. Ideally leading, helping people complete a mission, but something will go wrong. Having a good toolkit of problem solving, doesn't have to be legal, it can, it is really fantastic. And that is worth doing and liking. I think being a good problem solver, liking doing that can be very helpful.
Kristin, this was delightful and very informative. I hope you can come back again.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you from Purdue, Daniels School, and the Executive Forum. It was great to have you.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Executive Forum Speaker Series. Learn how the Daniels School is building the future of business by visiting us at business.purdue.edu. That's business.purdue.edu.